Hi, welcome to my first ever YouTube video. My name's Emily Kirkpatrick, and I'm the writer of the newsletter I Heart Mess, a weekly roundup of the best of the worst celebrity fashion. I'm also a professional writer with over a decade of experience working for pretty much every tabloid you can imagine. I specialize in fashion, pop culture, and a genre of content I call D-list celebrity shenanigans. I started I Heart Mess at the beginning of the pandemic as a sort of homage to Joan Rivers on Fashion Police, except unlike her, I actually genuinely love really bad celebrity fashion. I think a lot of the most interesting ideas and trends are born out of the things that we initially perceive as ugly and have these really strong gut reactions to and want to label as bad or cast some sort of moral judgment upon. But upon much closer analysis, I think that those are exactly the types of moments that often teach us a lot about our value systems and the general state of pop culture at large. So for my first YouTube video, I wanted to highlight some of those moments by taking a look at my favorite trends and red carpet looks from the month of August. Let's get into it. So I want to start by talking about foot fetishes, and specifically foot fetishes going mainstream this year. I feel like foot fetishes have been kind of like a running gag of the internet since the invention of WikiFeet in 2008. For those who don't know, WikiFeet is exactly what it sounds like, a searchable encyclopedia of images of celebrity feet. It gets 3 million visitors every single month, but according to the founder, it is not a fetish site. No adult content is allowed. It is just for the appreciation of beautiful feet. I also think that like any average internet user knows that like feet is a hugely popular subject matter on the internet. You have like anytime you Google search a regular celebrity's name, the second suggested search query is always celebrity name plus feet. I guess it makes sense to me that foot fetish is going mainstream because celebrity fashion has always kind of incorporated these elements of like the adult entertainment industry or fetishes at large and kind of pulled from those aesthetics in order to create more outrageous fashion that in turn generates more publicity for them. You can see this, just with the rise of like latex and PVC clothing within the last decade. It's now widely available. It's a Google search away, when previously it was only available at literal sex shops. You see this as well with pleasers, a type of shoe that used to be exclusively for strippers and now is like a very commonplace piece of red carpet footwear. Kim Kardashian wears them with literally everything. I think you could even argue that Versace and Valentino knocked off pleasers' entire silhouette with their most recent hot pink it shoe. And the list goes on and on. Visible G-strings, pasties, pretty much every type of bondage gear you can imagine. All of this stuff is like a natural outpouring of celebrities' interest in sparking conversation online, making headlines with their outfit, and just generally creating kind of viral moments on the red carpet. I also think this shift in fashion is reflected in kind of a broader attitude shift towards celebrity sexuality in general. We've seen an increasingly kind of permissive attitude towards celebrities who have sex tape, post and leak nudes, and just even celebrities who are sex workers themselves. It's all kind of become fair game and we've all become kind of very open-minded to it. I think with the rise of OnlyFans, especially as we kind of realize everyone is participating in this type of economy and everyone kind of shares and spreads nudes and, we're all kind of human in the same way. It's content also that a lot of celebrities are giving away for free anyway and posting to Instagram. Even just this month we saw Olivia Wilde and Emma Chamberlain post very close up, very graphic photos of their feet. Like, why not make money on it? Put it behind a paywall, put that foot in a closed-toe shoe, save some mystery, keep it alive. You got to plan for your future. And then, of course, there's Addison Rae, who is incorporating foot fetish into her brand in a completely different way. First she did an editorial for Essence with Petra Collins, where the lead image is her smoking a cigarette that is held between her toes. And then we go on from there to the release of her music video, Diet Pepsi, which is just loaded with all this kind of subtly coded fetish content. All of this fetish content in Diet Pepsi is very interesting because it's sort of like just vague enough that you might not clock it for what it is immediately. But if you know, you absolutely know. I'm thinking specifically about Addison rubbing her bare feet all over her boyfriend's face as he's driving the car. And then at one point he's licking whipped cream off of her toes. There's another scene where she's stomping an ice cream sundae under her feet or doing the splits on a couch. And then there's even one where she's sliding her down. Then there's even one where she's sliding her hand down a pair of compression hose for some reason that's never quite explained. I think What's interesting about this is it's almost like she's creating content that's asking to be clipped and proliferated across these fetish sites as a sort of like PR strategy for the music video, because at the end of the day, it's all linking back to her original content, which is just views are views. It's just sort of a really fascinating modern PR strategy that takes sex sells to like a whole new dimension. Something else I think Addison does really, really well is reference the aughts in her outfits in a way that feels authentic versus a lot of her Gen Z peers are doing it in a way that feels kind of like rehashed or, some sort of caricature of what people were actually wearing during that decade. I mean, I think Addison's footwear alone is very telling of this. She's often wearing these sort of like rockabilly Jessica Simpson platform heels, or she posted a picture of herself in the studded out like Christian Louboutin peep toes with the bow. That's like very Kat Von D to me. I think we saw something similarly true aughts happening at Charli XCX's birthday earlier this year, which was held at a nightclub filled with girls like Addison Rae, and they're posting videos of themselves smoking and drinking and doing all sorts of drugs and dancing and partying, and all of it is being captured by Mark the Cobra Snake, the same photographer who very much defined the aesthetic of indie sleaze in the 2010s and like what the Tumblr girl looked like. I thought the images from that party looked great. It looked like a lot of fun. It looked like a good time. At the same time, it gave me this very weird, uncanny feeling. Like I was seeing something from my youth played out like a little too accurately shot for shot. My feelings about this kind of strange indie sleaze simulacrum sensation that was happening, I think was summed up perfectly by MJ Corey, who runs the Instagram account Kardashian Colloquium, who, if you don't know, MJ is one of our truly great contemporary thinkers on pop culture, and she tweeted in response to these images, "For me, these hyper-real party pictures say that nothing is back. In fact, something we maybe hoped we could recall is irrevocably over." I think what she's getting at with that statement is that indie sleaze is a super specific moment in time, as all youth culture movements are, but this youth culture movement also happens to coincide with the rise of the internet as we currently know it. At the time, social media doesn't really exist like it does today. The closest thing we have is really Tumblr. Instagram had just been launched and it was definitely not popular. We're still seeing, young kids posting photo dumps from their digital cameras on Facebook. And the people who come out of this, the closest thing we have to an influencer or celebrity is someone like Corey Kennedy, who at the end of the day is just a party girl who looked really cool and went out and got photographed a lot. How can you recreate this confluence of events and this authentic expression of style born out of a particular subgenre of music 15 years on with a room full of famous people who are not only hyper aware of themselves and how they appear at all times, but also that everything they're doing is being perceived by an audience at home of millions? For the Gen Z in attendance, it's almost like getting to go to a 2010s themed nightclub, an immersive theatrical experience, whereas for the elder millennials in the room, Charli included amongst them, it's this sort of weird nightlife reenactment of their own youth. All that said, I think the person who absolutely nailed it that night was Rosalia, who showed up with a bouquet full of Parliament cigarettes, which is perhaps the most indie sleaze thing that's happened since The Real Deal. Very inspired. The last thing I have to say about indie sleaze is I just find it odd that with all this talk about its return, we haven't also seen a twee revival. Because for me, I've always considered twee as kind of the goody two-shoes twin sister of indie sleaze. So I'm just saying, keep your Peter Pan collars and your owl pendants available. On the subject of Charli, Brad has absolutely been dominating the trend conversation this summer. But while everyone's talking about chartreuse, I'm focused on Charli's contributions to the underwear's outerwear agenda. Beyond Charli's birthday outfit, which was very heavily brief-based, there's her new Skims campaign, and she also just did the new cover of New York Magazine where she's wearing a full Agent Provocateur lingerie set. And most notably for me is her music video for the remix of Guess featuring Billie Eilish, in which both of them are standing atop a mountain of Agent Provocateur underwear. This feels like the logical culmination of what we've seen happening over the last couple of years as underwear goes from the background to the foreground on the red carpet. And now we have underwear very much taking center stage, not only lyrically, but visually. I wrote a whole article about underwear's outerwear for Elle's September issue last year if you'd like to know more. But basically, like I said at the top of this video with regards to why celebrities have incorporated fetish wear into their fashion, likewise, as they go in pursuit of increasingly scandalous attire, things have also gotten increasingly nude in public. And as more and more famous people figure out this PR hack and jump aboard that overexposure bandwagon, nudity becomes rapidly normalized. And so again, they have to go in search of even more provocative, even more boundary pushing, even more publicly indecent outfits. or lack thereof. What's funny is back when I wrote that essay, I was largely talking about the rise of sheer dresses, visible G-strings, and visible pasties, especially as we were seeing them crop up at typically formal, really staid events like the Oscars or the Cannes Film Festival. But since then, things have actually gotten even more nude, and actually more nude than even the experts I spoke to predicted. I mean, at this point, there's pretty much nothing that hasn't been exposed on the red carpet, and when I say that, I'm talking about like even full-on labia. We have seen it multiple times at this point. And now it's time to discuss the Great Blake-lash of 2024. For those who somehow have stayed off the internet for the last month and missed it, Blake Lively is getting the full Jennifer Lopez treatment as the masses realize that they don't really like this lady very much, it turns out. I think the Blake-lash has been talked about to death at this point, so I'm going to save you the ins and outs of the It Ends With Us drama. However, I just have to say that under the unprompted rudeness to journalists, the entitlement, the caustic jokes that never seem to quite land, the liberal use of the T slur, and the very annoying husband, I think we've all forgotten what actually made us angry with her to begin with, which is the very bad fashions. Like, I understand that her character's name is Lily Blossom Bloom and she works at a flower shop, which is its own separate problem that should be dealt with, but tying that floral theme into your press tour wardrobe and then encouraging viewers to also dress up in florals when they go to watch this film about domestic violence seems like a really crazy marketing miscalculation to me. But then again, even the author of It Ends With Us, Colleen Hoover, thought it would be normal to sell a coloring book based off a film about domestic violence, so it seems like no one involved in this project is making good decisions. Back to the clothes, I don't think I even have to explain to you what makes all of these outfits so bad. I'll just let the power clashing speak for itself. However, one thing I never hear anyone talking about when it comes to Blake is that she is a wild over-accessorizer. Personally, this is my biggest pet peeve with her. I guess because of that, I'm sure brands love her because they can send over anything and they'll absolutely see it on the red carpet that night. I think it looks cluttered and overworked and not in a cool Iris Apfel type of way. I always thought that her accessories are a dead giveaway of Blake's actual taste level and that if anyone was paying attention to it, they would have learned long ago that she is not a very good dresser. Serena van der Woodsen, this lady, is not. On the flip side, I'd like to take a moment to praise someone's style who I think has gone so deep into the spectrum of bad it's come out the other side as good again, and that is Saturday Night Live's Sarah Sherman. Sarah is single-handedly championing an aesthetic that I've been calling clown couture. I guess the notable thing about clown couture is that I don't actually like these outfits. For me, they come across as very elementary school classroom. But at the same time, they are so specifically Sarah, her vision is so crystal clear, I can't help but stan. There's also something perfect to me about a comedian who is so committed to imbuing humor into her outfits that she's now dressing like the understudy for a local rent-a-clown. I also think that in a world of quiet luxury and minimalistic, muted neutrals, there's something very, very refreshing about seeing pure, unadulterated primary colors and very loud prints. I'd also like to share an outfit that just might be my favorite of all of August, which is Cate Blanchett covered in 102 antique spoons. She wore this top made by the Swedish brand Hodakova to a fan event for her new film Borderlands, and for me this is a much more satisfying version of the Dalara Findikolu skeleton silverware dress. I think it looks like an armored pie cone or sort of mutated roly-poly exoskeleton. My only notes would be that I think there should be no handles, spoon bowls only. I'd also love to see extended, maybe into some sort of cocktail dress. And I also don't like that I can see the muslin peeking out the edges of the top. For me, it makes it feel like a Project Runway challenge where they ran out of time. But otherwise, I think this is a really great top, and it's also really reminiscent of Alexander McQueen and the types of dresses that he would make out of microscope slides or oyster shells. I think there's always going to be something really compelling when a designer uses, everyday objects and refashions them into a textile. And finally, I just want to give a shout out to Jason Kelce, who, as everyone knows, is low-key the superior Kelce brother, because as an Emily who looks fantastic in a beret and who has suffered for the last 4 years because of Emily in Paris and what she has done to besmirch both our name and our name participating in any vaguely French activities, I have put my beret aside. But when I saw Jason rocking his little beret at the Paris Olympics this summer, I thought to myself, the chapeau is back, baby, and I can't wait for French Girl Fall. Okay, well that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want even more mess, you can sign up for my weekly newsletter at iheartmess.com. The link will be in the description below. See you next month for Celebrities Behaving Badly at Fashion Week. Goodbye.